Oh, it's a wonderful time to be alive. Nothing adds up. 2 plus 2 equals 5, and that's just fine. What about real estate? Is it overvalued? Or can it go up forever? Well, you came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we are going to look at the global real estate prices that have been rising and rising. Let's begin. UBS Global Real Estate Bubble Index. We have the usual suspects, London, Hong Kong, and so on. And it goes through this list trying to determine which are, and on the right hand side we have this legend, bubble, which are overvalued, and so on. What we hear in the mainstream media, the financial media, the newspapers, and the general consensus is that real estate prices can continue to rise. And there are various factors which will determine that. And depending on the city you live in, you may hear that, well, we have new immigrants coming in. They are purchasing the real estate, and therefore, as long as they're coming in, buying the real estate, the inventory will remain low. That is my next one, which is low inventories. And we also have to factor in foreign investment. Okay, those are the three that I tend to hear. And there are two that are not discussed, that are not released throughout the mainstream media, and don't make it into the consensus. But that's why you're here on this channel, to watch this video so you can learn the truth. Number one, I've said it a million times, interest rates are at or near historic lows right now. You in the US or in Canada, you may have seen your interest rates rising a little bit, but there are some places where they are still at rock bottoms. And even in the US and Canada, they are still historically very, very low. And nobody wants to factor this into their equations. And then there's something else. The average home price versus the average wage. So think about that. If real estate and your wages were both increasing at the same rate all the time, to certain degrees, then I would have no argument. But that is not the case. Real estate has been rising much, much faster than anybody's wages, except if you're in the top 1%. And so, what does that mean for the average person? Well, quite frankly, they're unable to afford their homes. So let's look at a typical article that you will see. Home prices will continue to rise. Okay, that's from March 2017. Doesn't even matter. I just wanted to show you this. They make excuses, and sure, we can use data any which way we want, right? But you can't deny certain things. And the household median income to the median house price is just one of the best ways to determine, are real estate prices overvalued, in a bubble, undervalued, and so on. All right, well, let's get right to it. Congratulations, Toronto. You won. That's right. All of my friends here in Toronto, you've done so well. Your real estate prices have risen the most in the entire world in this short period of time. They have increased to such a degree in such a short period of time that they have surpassed London, Vancouver, Sydney, Hong Kong, and Stockholm, and so on. And yet, you talk to the average real estate agent, you talk to the average person, and they will say that real estate prices will continue to rise. They do not factor in the two figures that I just mentioned because they have a lot riding on real estate prices continuing to rise. Most people, a very large percentage of people anyway, have taken home equity line of credit out. So they extract the equity from their house, they use that however which way they want. Maybe they buy some iPhones and iPods and some cars, and they renovate their house and who knows what else. But that money has been used. It's no longer in the equity because they're assuming that it's just going to rise and that bank account just fills itself up. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. A bubble does not expand forever. And when it comes crashing down, it causes a big ruckus along the way. There's a ripple effect that will be felt. So once again, congratulations, Toronto. You have the crown above your head. Wonderful job. You're going to make a lot of people very poor one day. One day soon. And looking at this, the index over the past 3 years, I've been seeing these statistics. I've been covering them here on the channel very regularly. Real housing prices in Toronto rose 50% over the last 5 years. In real estate, that's absurd. Even in stocks, that is absurd. Compare that to all the different markets, and all of a sudden it looks like these other ones are well valued, but that's not the case. They're very expensive. Just when you compare it to the rise that Toronto has had recently, you can't even believe it. Now, while prices have started to become a little wary right now, I don't think that it is necessarily done with. At least not yet. I mean, if interest rates are going to stay this low, maybe the prices can continue to rise. And when you look at wages, maybe all of a sudden we're going to get some bonuses from the government. Well, wishful thinking. I don't think that's the way it's going to be. All I'm seeing here is things are becoming more overvalued, one degree or another. Even if we exclude Toronto from this equation, we still see housing prices rising and rising. But the wages don't keep up, at least from what I see. UBS Global Real Estate Bubble Index here in the USA specifically, they are looking at these different cities: New York, Boston, San Francisco, Chicago, Los Angeles. I would say on average, we're tracking the same lines here. And when you see this so-called fair value, I don't agree. I really don't agree. Maybe if we're going to go into the undervalued territory, we can agree on that. But the value of the dollars have been declining so badly that we can't judge any of this. It's not accurate. The real housing prices have gone far beyond what the average wage is. And it's not just in cities like San Francisco and New York. We are witnessing that across the US, across the globe. Housing prices are rising in almost all cities. Just look at this. Just look at how intense these rise have been. And surely there are ups and downs, there are little blips along the way. It doesn't matter. All I'm trying to show you is that you see the housing prices going all the way down this list. They've been rising, and individuals are not doing any better. They're faking that they're doing better by taking the equity out of their homes and then sometimes using that into buying other homes. They're doing second mortgages. They are involved in so much debt right now at this time. In one way, shape, or form, line of credit. They have the most amount of debt that has ever happened. The most amount of debt ever. But of course, that's not a problem, right? Well, look at how many cities and states and provinces out there have found themselves in a whole heaping pile of debt. And as a result, Something had to change. Like, for example, when you saw pensions needed to be cut because of the amount of debt that a particular state was in. Oh, wait a minute. I thought that couldn't happen. Well, of course it does, because they can do whatever the hell they want. Just like in the European region, where they said they were not able to bail out companies, and yet they're doing it. It's in the treaty. Not allowed. And they did it anyway. Greece votes on a referendum. No bailout. The very next day, they go for the bailout. They don't give a damn about you. When the government does something, when the banks are doing something, when any of these big corporations and institutions are doing something, they're not doing it to help you out. They're doing it against your own will, against your favor. I assure you, this has been documented over and over again, and we continue to have examples. That's all for this video. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up. Last but not least, if you found this video informative, I know you will find my books, The Money GPS and my new release, Global Economic Collapse, even more informative. The first book, I get into the 4 asset classes and how to profit from it. And in my newer book, I get into reducing your monthly expenses and becoming self-sufficient, solar panels, and many more things. You could check these out at Amazon. The links are in the description below. Take care.